Welcome back to the Vatican. And as I mentioned before that short break, there are a series of events that are going to happen over the coming days and weeks that will culminate in the new Pope being decided here at the Vatican. And to talk a little bit more about what the process means and what it's going to entail, I'm joined by former Rome correspondent and colleague Mark Lower. Mark, good to see you. Talk me first of all through the next couple of days, because at the moment the body lies in the chapel of the residence of St. Martha. What's happening on Wednesday, and then looking ahead, what's happening over the coming days?
So on Wednesday, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. local time, the body, Pope Francis' body and the coffin will be transferred to St. Peter's Basilica there behind us, which towers over St. Peter's Square. This gorgeous Renaissance and Baroque cathedral, 15th, 16th century, topped by the dome designed by Michelangelo, of course. And that is where he will lie in state between Wednesday and Saturday. And we're expecting very large crowds to go in and see his open casket and to pay their final farewell to Pope Francis. Then on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. local time, the funeral will begin, and that will be a funeral that will attract the heads of state and royalty from right across the world. We know already that Donald Trump and his wife Melania will be there. The presidents of France and Brazil have confirmed their attendance. The president of Ukraine is said to be on his way as well to come to that on Saturday. And then after the funeral on Saturday, his coffin will be transferred across Rome to the Basilica di Santa Maria Maggiore. That is on the other side of Rome, and that is where Pope Francis said that he wanted to be buried. Now, it is rare for popes not to be buried at the Vatican. It's more than 100 years since a pope was not buried at the Vatican, and it's very much typical of the kind of slightly more humble, quieter end to his life that he wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, he streamlined the funeral as well, hasn't he? Because in the past, popes were buried in 3 different coffins, starting with a cypress coffin. But he has wanted to do things differently from the start.
He wants to be in a coffin that was wood and zinc, and just to be laid in the ground simply with his name in Latin, Franciscus. This is a man who, from his humble beginnings, then that very much shaped his humility as Pope, taking the name Francis after St. Francis of Assisi, shunning the kind of ornate clothing, for example, of his predecessor. He didn't like the red papal shoes. He wore his slightly scuffed black shoes. He lived, as you say, Mariam, in the Santa Marta guest house, not in the elaborate ornate papal apartments. And that will that will shape the end of his life, just as it shaped his papacy as well.
And of course, the conclave happens after those 9 days of official mourning. A very secretive process that I have to say fascinates so many people around the world, not least because of the Oscar-nominated movie.
Yeah, indeed, which I'm sure you and I have seen,
and
many of others have seen as well. And having been based here for 5 years and talking to a lot of people about how a conclave works, I think there's a lot of truth in that movie about how suddenly all the cardinals are shut inside the Sistine Chapel. The shutters come down. They're cut off from the outside world. There are no phones. There's no TV. There's no connectivity with the outside world. There is simply the presence of the Holy Spirit. And then they cast their votes. They've got to be under the age of 80, the cardinal electors.
There were 138 of them.
Mm-hmm. And they will cast their votes. On the first day of voting, there'll be 1 vote, and then followed by that, there'll be 2 votes in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. Initially, for a cardinal to get a 2/3 majority to be named pope. After 15 days there's no requisite 2/3 majority, it changes to a 50% plus 1 vote, and then after each vote the ballot papers are burned. And if there is no conclusive winner of the conclave, there is a special chemical put in for the smoke to be black. But if there is a cardinal who emerges victorious to be chosen as the next successor to St. Peter, as the 267th Pope, then a chemical is put in for white smoke to come up from a chimney just across St. Peter's Square, and that is when we are.
Here, then, Mark?
Yeah, we will be able to see it from here, and that is where we are likely to hear the cheers of. There will probably be. I mean, there will certainly be hundreds of thousands of people from St. Peter's Square down the road into central Rome, and that is when we will know that there is a new Pope.